Real imagined future. Real imagined future. Real imagined futures. Real imagined futures. Real imagined futures.
Hello, welcome to Real Imagined Futures with me, Claire Lim, and my lovely, lovely guest. It is Amelia. Yay! How are you doing? Yay, we got there. I'm so sorry about the Zoom problems. We got there. We got there in the end.
Okay, it seems to, there's always some issue, but we made it through, so.
We did it. We made it. We made it. Amelia, first of all, I've not seen you, but it feels weird not seeing you at a Comic-Con, actually.
I know.
Because I think I interviewed Amelia and Brian about 5 million times last year.
It was great. You're so good at it. So
I love that. But your guys,
questions and great energy.
I mean, honestly, you guys are very easy to talk to, super easy. So it makes it much better for me when you guys are so lovely and easy to talk to. But after the third or fourth time, I was like, can I ask them the same questions again? Because I was like, I don't want to make them bored. But Amelia, first of all, because we've not seen each other for so long, because you guys aren't traveling, obviously, at the moment. How are you? Simply, how are you? Are you guys okay?
Yeah, I'm good. We're in our new studio right now. You can see the piles of boxes that have slowly but surely been shrinking, so that's exciting. Otherwise, I'm good. I'm chilling, I'm trying to keep my chin up.
Yes, yeah, and trying to be positive as well.
Yeah.
So yes, absolutely. So let's not talk about that just now. That's for another time, another conversation. Let's talk about what this show is all about. So, Real Imagined Futures is the podcast that imagines what happened to famous movie characters after their stories ended. Very simple. So, Amelia, what have you chosen? Which film are we going to be talking about tonight?
We're going to be talking about Amelie, the French movie.
Yes, Amelie. And do you speak French as well?
Un petit peu. Ma mère est française. Je comprends, mais je parle comme ci, comme ça.
Oh,
that means I understand more than I speak, and my mom is French.
Sehr gut. Ich spreche Deutsch. So that doesn't help. That doesn't help anything. I speak German, you speak French. We can cobble it together. So, Amelie. Okay, so Amelie's what? And now it's quite confusing because Amelia choosing Amelie. So there's many times when I was emailing, I was actually doing typos. I was like, why? Why has she chosen this film that is so similar to her name? So
I did it on purpose.
Amelie! So let's go right back to the beginning, Amelia. I'm probably going to get your name mixed up during this now because I'm going Amelie, Amelia, Amelie, Amelia. So let's go right back to the beginning. First of all, why did you choose this film? You've got a big long list to choose from. Why did this one stick out to you?
I picked this film because for me, it represents just a joie de vivre, being the outsider and finding beauty in that. I feel like right now I would love to have more whimsical energy in my life. So when I saw that on your list, I was like, oof, I gotta pick that one because it really holds a special place in my heart.
How old were you? Because this is I think this is 2001 or 2002. So how old were you? Where were you at the time when you first saw this? You might not have seen it in the cinema, but where were you at the time?
I saw it when I was in high school, and it definitely, a lot of people have been telling me I had to see it because it had my name and the lead actress, we had some similarities. So I saw it and it really struck a chord with me, especially because when I was in high school, I felt very much like an outsider and like I didn't belong. So this movie really, really struck a chord.
So what were your first impressions as an outsider, as a young person back then, feeling like an outsider? What did you feel from beginning to end? What were your first impressions after watching?
Well, I rewatched it yesterday.
Yes.
And so that, reignited all of the little moments. But I think that Amelie is such an interesting character because she's been alone and very isolated for most of her life. And she lives a lot in her imagination. which I definitely related to, because in high school, especially when I saw this, I really just did not have friends. I did not have a place where I felt safe and comfortable. So I spent a lot of time in my own mind, and I found that really inspiring. And I also liked how she went out of her way to help other people, but always did it anonymously because she had a fear of interacting with them. So I just found that very inspiring, especially because I was feeling similarly of like not knowing my place and feeling uncomfortable interacting with the people around me.
I would have been your friend. I was exactly the same. I would have been your friend. We could have been friends. I was a very big loner. Yes, we would. Hey, in high school, we would have been hanging out. I would have been singing sad girl songs on guitar. You could have written the lyrics. It would have been amazing. I was drawing things and pretending I was a comic book artist, but I felt the same way. I do relate to that feeling. Although I went to school and I could get on okay with people, I got so bullied for looking so different and so.
Me too.
Yes.
Me too. I was horribly bullied.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
girls can be really mean.
girls are really mean. It's like you're not the right weight, or you're not the right ethnicity, or you're not the right whatever. And I was like, I'm just a big blob of nothing. So I was like, I felt quite outside, but I relate to that. I love spending time in my room playing guitar and drawing, and imagining what I'd be like, as an adult. Didn't imagine I'd be sitting here on Twitch. That's what I didn't.
No, me neither.
But I would have been your friend. So anyway, moving.
I'm your friend too.
Yes, we would have been like little loner girls together, but we're secretly the cool ones, secretly. Anyway, so French cinema. Are you a fan of French cinema in general?
Yeah, I definitely do like French cinema. I have not seen as much as I would like to call myself a French cinema aficionado, but I definitely have I've seen a good amount of them, and I like how avant-garde they are, and they definitely are very different from films that come out of Hollywood.
Oh, absolutely. I love the way that I went through a very big Korean film phase when I was in my 20s, and then a very big Spanish movie phase, not really French, but I love the way that if we just look beyond our borders, beyond the UK and the US and North America, there's so much interesting stuff being made, like so much.
Yeah, it's very inspiring, because a lot of films in Hollywood have very similar themes and very similar looking characters. So to break out of that and look to see like what other countries are championing and what's on the forefront of their creative imagination is really it's inspiring.
Exactly. And what are your thoughts on Jean-Pierre Jeunet, the director? Have you seen Delicatessen, for example? Have you seen any of his other films?
No, but now I want to. I mean, I really enjoyed the film. It was really whimsical. I loved the colors. I loved, the whole world that he created. Also the opening credits, that was also very nostalgic, because I did a lot of that, like the raspberries in all of your fingers, and then like hanging the cherries on your ears. So I definitely should see more of his films, but I have not seen that one.
The only other film I've seen of his is Alien Resurrection, which is a really strange director to choose for an Alien film, the actor that plays Joseph in Amelie is actually in Alien Resurrection, but it's not a great Alien film. I love action films, but like it's weird. It's very him though, so he's tried to put his style into it, but it doesn't quite work in an action film. It's so strange. It's very, very strange.
Combination, try.
I mean, I'll watch anything with explosions and aliens, so I'm quite happy to watch it over and over again. But I really want to see Delicatessen. Like, I really want to see it. I just need time and brain space. So let's talk about the film, because I know there's probably a few people in here that might not have seen the film. So let me explain. There's going to be major spoilers now, so I do apologise, but I have warned you. So essentially, Amelie is about the title character, Amelie. She's a girl that grows up under strange circumstances. Her mother dies when she's very young because somebody jumps off a church building and like crushes her.
Yeah, it's Notre Dame.
That's it, Notre Dame. Well, the church, the cathedral. And then her father he diagnoses her with a heart defect wrongly when she's younger, and he's quite a cold person. He's not very sort of tactile. So she grows up being homeschooled. She grows up going into her imagination because she's lonely. She's very lonely. She's actually quite a lonely adult as well. But as she gets older, she sees things differently. She starts to do good. She starts with finding a little box behind the wall in her house, in her flat. And she says to herself, if I can find the owner of this little box, everything will be great and I will start doing good, to other people in the world. And she does. But along the way, she falls in love. And that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Yes, she does.
She falls in love along the way. So let's talk about Amelie as a character, first of all. What do you make of her as a character? Because you're an actress, obviously. Like, look at a role like this. She's very quirky and innocent and free, but she's not annoying, if you know what I mean. So,
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I really like her as a character. I think she's very, as you say, quirky, but also very complex. I mean, she wants to be able to put herself out there. But then she has all of these inner demons that are holding her back, all these fears. And so I really enjoy watching her go out of her way to do good for other people, but doing it anonymously and then spying on them and watching their reactions, because she doesn't have the courage to say, I'm the one who found this little box for you, or I'm the one. So she does it all very covert.
Yes.
And that brings her a tremendous amount of joy, but she's going out of her way to help all of these people to like close up wounds, or to heal in some way, or to get out of their own way, or to get out and to find some adventure. But she's not doing that for herself. So it reminds me of the quote of, you have to put on your own oxygen mask before helping others, because I think that that's something that she definitely doesn't do. Is she doesn't know how to help herself. She's just helping everybody around her, and in the end, eventually somebody helps her.
Yes, in the end. It's a nice ending, that's all I'm going to say. It's nice. Yeah. It's warm and fuzzy. But you're right, she, all the while when she's doing that, and you're so right, I always say, be kind to yourself before you can be kind to others. You need to look after yourself. I think especially in these times during the pandemic, during all of the horribleness that we're seeing in the world, I think it's very important to look after yourself before you can be strong for anyone. And we see this in the film where she's, as you said, going out into the world, helping people, but she's very lonely. She's still lonely, and she kind of craves love, and she craves kind of not attention, but just contact.
Doesn't know how to go about doing that, and her journey trying to just like figure out how to let herself be seen by others is really really touching to me.
It's so sweet. And even the way it's a romantic film, you guys, just to let you know. And I'm not into romantic films, but this one I make an exception for because it's very beautiful and it's very well written. But it's the way that she ends up finding romances, and completely in her own quirky way. She finds this book of like photographs and stuff, and she's like, I'm going to find it, and she falls in love with the owner of the book. I don't want to say too much because it really gives it away. But it's lovely, and she does it in her own way. What do you think, though, Amelia, makes this romantic film stand out amongst other films with sort of themes of romance? Why is this so good?
This is a very different portrayal of romance. I mean, this is not the typical romantic film where boy meets girl and then they slowly start to get to know each other. They have fights, all this stuff. With this, she's falling in love from a distance. She's also falling in love with the idea of what this person could be, and so is he. And most of the romantic interactions they have they're not even in the same room together. Mm-hmm. It's all from a distance. So I found that really, really cool because it takes the romance film and flips it on its head.
Absolutely. And so my next question to you, because we're talking about romance, so tell me, Amelia, how did you and Brian meet? Was it all like like love hearts in your eyes? Was it all like unicorns and rainbows? Like, how did you guys meet?
Well, we met at a chemistry read for an audition. We were both auditioning for film together. And after you've done a certain number of rounds of auditions, you do something sometimes called the chemistry read, where they'll invite different actors and they'll pair them together to see what their chemistry is.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing him in the waiting room and sitting next to him, being like, "Oh my God, this guy is really, really." And we went in and we did our read together, and I was crushing.
Oh, I love that.
Super cute. And then we left, and I was like, "It was nice to meet you," thinking, "Oh, I'll never see that guy again." And then I got cast in the film, and I was like, "Ooh, who did they cast as Andrew?" Then I found out they offered it to Brian, and I was so excited. So I definitely was like trying to be like, to keep it cool. I was playing it really cool. Like, yeah, I'm fine. I don't have a crush on you. Let's just look casually flirt.
What's your name again? Sorry, I forgot your name.
Yeah. I tried really hard to play it cool because, he's really handsome and very charismatic. And he had also just moved to Los Angeles. And so, I crushed pretty hard, but I was also scared because, opening yourself up to somebody is scary because there's always a potential that you're going to get hurt or they're not going to feel the same way. So I was pretty nervous, but the more we got to know each other, I was like, okay, this guy isn't as cool as he's acting. So I can kind of let a little bit of my nerdy self show. And then the more we started to open up to each other, the more we're like, nerd. Okay. Let's keep going.
Oh, I love that. Like it's called falling in love for a reason, because you feel like you're really opening up and you're falling in, and it sometimes, and not in a bad way. It's trying to open yourself. I met my husband this year, so this month, Paul and I will have been together for 18 years this month. I know. We could have an 18-year-old child.
Oh my gosh, congratulations. That's huge.
We were so young when we met, but I was in my late teens and Paul was in his 20s. And so when I met Paul, like, he was kind of really into it. And I was very drawn to him, but I was very much like, I don't do relationships.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was like, no, I don't need
He was like, let's just hang out. We'll just hang out, and I'll charm you. And I was like, okay. But I think you just know when you know. It's a really strange feeling. Like, you're very drawn, regardless of, I think you're handsome or whatever. You're just really drawn to that person, and it's a really weird thing. I don't know why. And like I love it, and I think they do it well in this film. Yeah, she's doing it in a different way, but she's so drawn to him. And even when
from the minute she sees him, because he's also, so she's really, has some odd little habits, and then the first time she sees him, he's in the middle of doing his odd little habit, which is collecting all of these pictures that have been torn up under all the photo booths, and she's like, you're weird.
Yeah,
I'm weird. And they have this moment of like, are we weird together? No, run away.
Yeah, I love that. I love the kind of moment where you're like, I can be a total freak with you. Like, it's gonna be, and it's okay. It's okay. Not many people get to see that side, but I love that moment because you can tell, it's that we're weirdos, but they don't even meet at that point. You're like, they're not even together.
Yeah, they run away from each other. They run away.
Oh, so sticking on the romance for a second. So, Amelia, time to call Brian out. What is the most romantic thing he's ever done for you? Tell me. I would like to know.
Oh, most romantic thing. Well, I mean, the first one that comes to my mind was our proposal. His proposal, when he proposed marriage. We were in Paris, which, I mean, it just really is a super romantic city. And we had both just finished working on Detroit Become Human, and I was very excited to be in Paris, and I really wanted to go visit Versailles because I had gone as a child, and I really wanted to go see it with him. So we took the train out there, and we bought lunch from the train station, which was surprisingly really delicious. And then we spent the day walking through the palace, and then afterwards we went into the gardens, and we were walking around in the gardens, and it was so romantic. And I was like, this feels like this feels like a moment to propose. And I was thinking that maybe I should propose, because this is just like the stage is set. And then literally as I was thinking that, he got down on one knee and he held out this ring which belonged to his great great grandmother and asked me to marry him. And and then when we got back to the hotel, the entire room was just filled with these red roses,
Oh
and they
my
had
God, amazing.
part with petals on the bed, and there was macaroons and there was champagne, and then the
Wow,
next
Brian, well done. Oh my
oh
God.
yeah, he knocked it out of the park. He knocked it out of the park. It was
See, my husband's not romantic in that way, but when he does, like, when he does it, it's big. So I think about my proposal as well, because that has to be the most romantic thing.
tell me.
So I know it's like we're at a sleepover now. I'm like, oh my God, you guys, we're having a sleepover and we're exchanging fun stories. I love it. So so it was my birthday. Was it my 30th or my 29th? I think it was my it was my 30th birthday. And it was my 29th, and then we were walking along. So he said, I've got some surprises for you tonight, and we're definitely going to be having dinner. He's very matter of fact. He's from Scotland, right? So he's very like, ooh. He's like, right, we're going to be some surprises coming up. You're definitely going to eat. So that's, definitely have a drink. We're going to have drinks. We're going to eat. And I was like, okay. So we got off at Waterloo Station and we walked over Waterloo Bridge. And as we walked over Waterloo Bridge, he went, so what are the best birthdays you ever had? And I went, okay. So I was like, my 21st was really good because you threw a big party and that was fun. And I started talking. And then we got to the middle of the bridge, and then he got down on one knee, and I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, you're going to remember this one. And I was like, oh, and I immediately just went, started crying, and I was like, yes. And I just started crying, and he was just like, I wanted to do it here. And the sun was setting. It was a clear day. It's October is my birthday. Usually very cold, but it was clear. It was blue skies. Sun was setting over Waterloo Bridge. And he went, I wanted to do it here because ever since we lived in London together, we've always passed over this bridge. And we've always been like, we live in London. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's our special little bridge. And then we went for dinner. And then we just walked through the city and like just sort of made each other laugh and told each other some stories. And it was really sweet. So that's the condensed version.
I like it.
It was very sweet. It was very sweet. Paul's quite romantic when he's doing like big gestures, like that kind of thing. But otherwise, he just like calls me dumb names mostly. So it's mostly just taking the piss out of me a lot. So enough with that romance, right? Let's go on. Enough with that romance, right? I'm not crying. You're crying, right? Let's get into the film. Right, let's talk about the themes of the film. So, we have lots of different themes in the film. Before we get into the characters, I like to explore the film. So, fantasy versus reality is definitely a theme of the film because of the way Amelie is growing up. Now, you mentioned that you were, when you were younger, lonely, wistful. So, which category were you in? Were you a bit of a daydreamer then? Are you still a daydreamer now, Amelia?
Oh, definitely a daydreamer. I have a younger sister. She's 3 years younger than me. And the two of us used to just play and go wild in our imagination. And we had a whole bunch of stories that we would live out, these different fantasies and princesses and big horses. And we also played with batteries. My mom had a huge collection of batteries, and my sister and I used to play with them, and we would divide them into different families, and we put them on blocks, and they'd have to cross an ocean. So we definitely we definitely lived in fantasy worlds.
What about now? Would you say you're still a bit of a dreamer now, or have you grown out of that, would you say?
I hope I never grow out of being a dreamer. I think that our imagination is an incredible tool and liberator. And I think that we should always continue to play and have fun and dream and think outside the box.
I honestly think sometimes, Amelia, not to make it too serious for a second, but when I look at what's going on in the world and all these horrible governments and right wing showboating populist governments, uh, they don't care about art, they don't care about culture,
Yeah.
they don't care about creativity, and we need that. Like, we
We
really need
do.
that.
We do. And I mean, this community is so creative and
Mm,
so has so many bubbling ideas, and it's really inspiring to, I think we have to continuously, be around people who trigger our imagination and allow us to think outside the box, because without our imagination, nothing would grow. There'd be no stories, really. I mean,
no.
it's all stems from your imagination.
Absolutely. I mean, I know your community very well on Twitch, and they are so frigging lovely and so creative. My community are daft weirdos, and I love them. And I think if we join the communities, my God, we could take over the world. It'd be amazing. It
Yes,
would be so
for
great.
sure.
But my community are definitely very. We're kind of do-gooders, and we're also daft weirdos and a bunch of nerds. And I see your community, lovely creative people. And you're right, you have to hang about with, even if it's online, and associate yourself with people that feed you in that way. Otherwise, what's the point? Like,
Yeah,
you only get
yeah.
one life.
I know. I
Anyway,
know.
that got deep for a second. Let's go back. Let's go back. Amelia, are you a little bit like Amelie? Would you say that even as an adult, you appreciate those small things in life? Because we see Amelie throughout the film, she appreciates tiny, small things in life and notices things that nobody else notices. Are you a little bit like that as well?
I do like to I remind myself constantly to look for the little beauties in life. Sometimes it's easy to get caught up in all the shit,
Yes.
and feel really depressed and helpless and despondent, and little things like, smelling a rose, or watching a butterfly go by, or watching a plant slowly grow. The little things like that, just it reminds me to, be grateful for the little small things, because they all add up.
I think in
And
this time, I don't know if do you feel this way, like in this time at the beginning of the lockdown anyway, a lot of people slowed down because we were forced to slow down. And
yeah.
my husband particularly, because he suffers from anxiety, and
Mhm.
so his anxiety sort of alleviated in that time, because he was like, I can just be, and I can just notice things again. Did you feel like that during the lockdown? Although it was terrible, I don't want anyone to be sick, but did you feel there was some kind of positive in that?
For sure. I mean, I always try and find the positive in situations like that. And for me, there was a, definitely a certain amount of feeling like I didn't have obligations in the same way that I had had before. Like, no one was expecting
Mm-hmm.
me to be anywhere. I didn't have feel like I needed to go anywhere, because I literally couldn't. So I had it gave me the opportunity to slow down and do things that I wouldn't normally do, like organize my closet.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And just, yeah, really really slow the pace down. And um I think, I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about how important it is for me to be around other people, how that really feeds my happiness, whether it's on the internet or in person. But like, other people really give me a lot of my energy. So I learned how essential that is, because,
Mm-hmm.
without having it taken away, you don't necessarily know how much something means to you.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think, yeah, it's horrible what's happening, and it's very scary. But I think just pausing for a moment, I think the whole world's pausing. I think somewhat, and I guess it can be quite a good thing, I guess.
Yeah.
But tell me, Amelia is Amelie. See, I did it. Amelie. Did it. That's the first one down. Amelie is very selfless. We see her doing a lot of good for the people around her. What would you
Mhm.
say is the most selfless thing that you've ever done?
That's a big question. Um, hmm. Most selfless thing I've ever done.
It's hard. I think
Yeah.
I'm thinking about my animals. I mean, I would do anything for my. I'm just not even thinking about my poor husband. My animals. I'm just like my cat. My cat. I think honestly, the most selfless thing that I have ever done is probably, I guess, being there for like little creatures like my cats, like and my cat. And I know this is very small and it feels very silly, but I will stop everything and anything. I took our cat in, like, and he was out in the street. I didn't want a cat. Like, I'm too busy for a cat. I'm too busy for anything always. We took him in and he loves it. He doesn't want to leave anymore. I tried to put him outside. He's like, I don't want to do this. I've tried to put him on a collar and a leash and he just lies on the ground and is like, no, I'm not going anywhere. So
Take me.
yeah, I would do anything for animals. Like if there's an animal that's hurt, and I will do anything for animals. And I've like helped birds, like even dirty little pigeons. I will help. I've done all of that. Like I don't care. I'll pick them up. I'll touch them. I'll like So those kind of things I've done before. What about you, Amelia?
The thing that came to my mind is I went through a period where I had a whole bunch of positive affirmations, and I went around and put these positive affirmations in people's front windows of their car. And sometimes, like Amelie, I would watch them as they came to the car, first thinking it was a ticket, and then reading the positive affirmation and this letter of just like, whoever you are, just know that you're spreading a lot of positivity. And I just, whatever it was different little words of affirmation, and watching their reactions was really inspiring, because I didn't want them to know that it was me that was doing it. And then also something else that came to my mind was thinking about sometimes in life there are certain people who really rub you the wrong way, and sometimes they're with somebody who you love very, very much.
Yeah.
And
I
mean, I did an entire film on this. My short film, Desert Prayer, is all about wanting to save someone from a relationship that I thought was toxic. And I think one of the more selfless things I've done was to put aside my preconceived ideas of who this person was, and for the person that I loved, made friends and buried the hatchet and accepted this partner. And it was really hard, but it was selfless, because it wasn't for me. Because if it was up to me, they would have broken up.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
For my friend who I loved, I put that aside, and I accepted this person.
Oh, that's a hard one. I've been there. Some of our good friends have ended up marrying those people, and you just have to kind of go, you know what, like it is what it is, and that's it, and whether they stay together or not. But that's right, to go, you know what, I accept you and I'm here for your happiness.
And also there must be something that I'm not seeing that they love about this person that I just can't see. So I have to trust that, they know what's best for them, and let go of that tension and anger inside. And
you're better than me. I've got like resting bitch face, so you can totally just tell when I'm not happy. I'm like, I can't be bothered.
It's taken a lot of work, and still continuously, but that's, you make the choice.
I can't imagine you, Amelia, I don't think there's a nasty bone in your body. I can imagine you might get annoyed and things like that and irritated, but I can imagine there's not. I've got a lot of rage. I'm Scottish, lots of rage, lots of burning rage.
I'm a Scorpio, so I definitely have this,
Oh, hey, still waters run deep. Scorpios, still waters run deep. I like a bit of astrology. Don't even get me started on astrology, because I love astrology. I do birth charts and everything. Very into astrology.
Oh, very cool.
Very into astrology. So let's talk about the courageousness. Amelie is quite courageous in what she does. She might be sort of introverted. She might be an outsider, but what she does is very courageous. She's doing a lot of things and good for people that we would all love to do, that we don't have the guts to do sometimes. And she follows her heart and she follows her instincts. So I wanted to ask, Like, when was the last time you stepped out of your comfort zone? Not to help someone, but the last time you felt being quite brave and being quite courageous in a way. Was there a time that you've ever done that?
Yeah, I mean, continuously, I feel. I feel like as a creative person, you always want to be pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. Sometimes even it takes a lot of courage to say no, because there's a lot of, opportunities that people will present. And sometimes you're like, this isn't right for me. And even though I want to, part of me wants to, or I feel like I should, there is power in saying, no, I don't want to do this because I am going to be compromising something. So I feel like for me, the most recent thing that I have done courageously is saying no to an offer. But also moving to this new studio, took a lot of courage. It was a big deal to be moving up and out of our living room and deciding that we wanted to have a dedicated streaming space that we would come to. And it was definitely scary to do that, but I'm grateful for it. It's
good.
Really changed my life. But yeah, definitely I would say saying no can be a courageous step.
I think that's a very good point. And I think it's something you learn as you get older as well. I think that saying no and having the strength to say no, not that younger people can't, but I was so scared of not pleasing people when I was in my 20s. I think it's because I grew up not having a lot of friends or people around me, so I became such a people pleaser in my 20s. I felt so scared to say no or reject something or an offer or whatever it may be. And now I've done that a few times with my agent, and my agent has given me something and it might be a cool thing on Channel 4 or whatever, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. My morals, my standards, I'm not going to I'll act like an idiot on stream. I'll like sing and dance and we have a good time on stream, and that's within my comfort zones, but I will not compromise my morals and standards and myself. And I think you're very right, Amelia. And all power to you, basically. All power. You go, girl. You go, girl.
Thank you.
You go, girl. Yes.
You too.
Yes, queen. Yes.
We need to be reminded about that because, as it's scary, especially with the scarcity mentality of saying no. But there's power in that.
It's funny because I think as we grow up, it's like one of those things where we're told to smile and be extroverted, and we are taught I always feel through school and your teenage years to be this version of yourself, to just get on. And we're not told that actually sometimes you shouldn't compromise your morals and sometimes you should stand your ground. And we're not told about confidence, and we're not taught how to be truly confident when we're younger. It's something we learn. And it's a shame because I feel if we were taught confidence, for those who aren't as confident in school and through their 20s, I think a lot of us would be a lot better. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's a lot about your environment and the people who you're looking up to and how they respond to you and nurture you. I was, my parents were both artists. They're both very outside of the box and kind of black sheets in their own right. Mm-hmm. So I know my parents went out of their way to encourage me to take risks because they didn't have that when they were growing up. So they're like, whatever you want to do, give it a go. And if you fail, then try again.
I would like to adopt your parents, please. They sound amazing.
They are really special people. I wouldn't be who I am today without them.
Oh, I want to adopt Amelia's parents. Seriously. Mine were the opposite. They were very like, no, don't do anything. Don't show any emotion. I was like, okay. So I just sat in my room drawing my feelings. I would draw all of my feelings. So now this is called Real Imagined Futures. So we finally got to the real imagined future part. Now, I am usually, I go down a dark route with this usually, but I'm going to let you lead the way and we can see what we think. We're going to now decide what happened to the various characters of the film after their stories ended. Now, we'll end with Amelie, okay? So we're going to start with her father. So her father, as we know in the film, is someone, they have a kind of, not a bad relationship, but he's not very tactile. He's not very fatherly. She steals one of the gnomes in his garden at one point, gives it to her stewardess friend, and the stewardess takes pictures of the gnome around the world, sends them back to her father to encourage him to go and do his dream of traveling, which I think is such a complex, strange, and wonderful way to make someone follow their dreams. So at the end, we assume that he's gone traveling. Where do we think Raphael, what do we think he did for the next 5, 10, 20 years after that?
I would like to think that he did travel. And probably when he got to the first location, I'm assuming it was someplace that probably like Thailand, where, they don't speak English. And he probably felt like super, super uncomfortable and like a fish out of water of like, oh my God, what did I do? Why am I here? And then slowly it's like, actually, this isn't as scary as I thought it was. And then like continually went out and explored more. And I like to think that he went back and forth of feeling like, yes, I'm free. Oh my God, oh my God. Yes, I'm this back and forth, because when you spend so long living in one mindset, it's very hard to break out of that. But, so I like to think that he would continuously try and push himself and then get really scared and go back into his little shell and then slowly come back out again.
I reckon that Raphael eventually ends up in Glasgow, my hometown. He ends up in Glasgow. He's like, I've never seen Scotland. I'm making my way back to closer to France. So he's coming back the way. He's doing like a bit of a loop. He's coming back, lands in Glasgow, has a bit of a night in Glasgow, because I've had a lot of wild nights in Glasgow, and he meets a lovely lady. A lovely Scottish lady. Let's call her Moira.
Oh, Moira. Okay.
And Moira, now he can't speak very good English. Okay, so let's assume that he can't. He can enough to get by, and Moira can speak a little bit of French, because she used to be a assistant teacher to a French teacher, but she quit and she ended up becoming a nurse. Sorry, I'm making all this shit up, but this is.
I like it. Very detailed.
So he's in Glasgow, and Moira's very exuberant. She's very outgoing. She's very opposite from him, and she's not like his wife. His wife, as we see in the film, was very kind of conservative. Moira is the opposite. She's very liberal, very free. She's now a retired nurse. She's now an artist. She lives up in the Highlands, but she was just down in Glasgow to visit her kids. And so he has this night, and that's what changes him. So I feel that is the night that changes him. He goes back to France. He introduces Moira to Amelie. And, well, we don't know if Amelie and Nino stay together. And that's when he gives Amelie a hug the first time he sees her after so long. Because he never hugs Amelie. And that's when Amelie knows that he's changed forever. What do you think? What do you think, Amelia?
I love that. I really love that. Going on a journey of going in and out of comfort zones and then finally landing in Glasgow, meeting a woman who changes his life. And, yeah, I like that.
I love I think that they could retire together in his home, like just live together, and she'd be painting gnomes, like little gnome pictures for him and stuff. Like
she loves gnomes, unlike his ex-wife.
She loves gnomes. In fact, she paints them doing funny things as well. She gives them little characters and stuff. I'm thinking Moira is amazing. It'll absolutely change his life. So that's very happy for me, Amelia, because I'm a bit of a pessimist. So that was a good start for me. Usually I'm like, well, they go on a drug bender or they're like an alcoholic. I usually go down the dark path. So let's talk about Lucien. Okay, so let's talk about Lucien for a second. He is the lovely gentleman we see who is the sort of assistant, I guess, at the fruit stand. Or the fruit and veg stall, and he gets taken the piss out of a lot until Amelie sort of gaslights the other guy one day, and then he gets laughed at, and then Lucien gains confidence. Where do you see him going? Where is he now?
I really liked Lucien as a character. He's so. I really loved how he would just take moments to appreciate the little things like the endives or the asparagus, just how much time it took for this fruit or vegetable to grow and become what it is. And also he was taking art classes and learning to paint. So I would like to imagine that he quit his job working for that horrible man, and that he opens up like an heirloom fruit stand or something, where he gets
Yes.
really just specialty pieces of fruits and vegetables.
Oh.
And that people come to him if they want something like really, high end, and that every little thing that he sells in his store, he has taken great care of. He knows exactly where it comes from. He knows what the farmers were using and planting. I like to think that he gets his own space, and that he gets to have command of his life.
I love that. And now I'm going to take it further. Here we go.
Okay.
Don't worry, he's not going to be an alcoholic and he's still alive in my story. So I love that. And we have to assume, because this is the early noughties, right? Before YouTube, the sort of dawn of YouTube and all the digital stuff. Let's say he does that. And then he gets on the YouTube and the vlogging game early.
Yes.
Let's say he gets in the vlogging game early and he has a vlog that becomes very popular in France first. And he talks, the way he talks about the vegetables, and he whilst actually live drawing them as well and live painting them. So he gets in all of that early. In fact, he's so clever. Somebody that you didn't even reckon would do this, that he becomes a bit of a mogul and earns loads of money and becomes one of the first fruit and vegetable influencers in France.
Ooh.
How would you
Maybe
like
a cookbook and a show that goes on like Food Network or something like that.
Yes, absolutely. And then he opens up his own restaurant, which he manages. How do you like them apples? Ha 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 ha. How do you
I
like
love it.
So I think Lucien becomes quite a big celeb. And in fact, depending on what happens with Amelie and Nino, maybe if they get married, he might end up cooking or catering for the wedding. Maybe there's a connection there.
Definitely.
Maybe
Definitely.
we've not decided if they're together yet. So I'll let you start off with Georgette and Joseph. So Georgette works in the cafe with Amelie, and she's the hypochondriac, and we've got Joseph, and we see like this. Amelie gets them together at one point. We see this really fun scene where they're getting it on in the bathroom. So, do they stay together? What is their story?
No, I do not think they stay together. Joseph is he is a spoonful. um, I feel like he was hurt really badly, and his trust issues are just completely shattered. And I feel like as a character, he's always looking for his love interest to fall from grace. He's just watching for any tiny little thing to be like, see, told you, you're an asshole, you're an idiot, I shouldn't have trusted you. So I don't think that those two would be together, because he was already, accusing her of cheating on him, and they hadn't even been dating for very long at all. So I'd like to think, though, that Georgette, having finally found some kind of, romantic physical fun, that she decides that she needs to have love in her life, that is essential for her, and that she goes to a some kind of group where people who are also hypochondriacs, they get together and they talk about it, and she finds someone else who also thinks that they have every single kind of disease, and they bond over that, and that they move in together, and they keep everything really, really clean, and that they support each other's passions. But Joseph, I don't think, is the right person for her.
No, I like the way you went with Georgette. So I think keep that where it is. I think Joseph, he's a funny one. Okay, so I think that actually his tryst with Georgette actually changes him down the line, and he realizes months later, because he's in a really bad place. He's in a bad place. He lets his issues get the better of him. He actually bothers Georgette for a while, until unfortunately the authorities have to get involved, and Georgette's like, right, leave me alone. So Joseph goes away and works on himself. He really works on himself and his problems and and goes to therapy and really looks inside and looks deeply, and then ends up becoming a therapist himself, and ends up years down the line, visits Georgette, who is possibly married down the line, knocks on her door and just apologizes and says sorry and thank you. And that, I think that is full circle for Georgette and Joseph. What do you think?
I like that. I definitely think that him going and working on himself and dealing with the probably the root of the trauma of why he doesn't trust women, and being able to then help other people get over their trauma with trust. It sounds like a nice full circle.
And I reckon Georgette's maybe married down the line, and I think Joseph will definitely gets married to a lovely woman who's very strong-willed, very independent, but he loves it. And he thinks she's amazing, and they have 2 kids, a boy and a girl, and he's quite happy, and he's a therapist. So, but she's a businesswoman, so he's actually gone for someone that's maybe who wasn't his type, but he's like, oh, this is my type, this is who I am now. And so I'd like to think that he deals with that. So my God, I'm being very unnaturally positive tonight.
I like
Amelia,
it.
This is what Amelia's doing to me, guys. I've changed. My black heart has been melted. You're witnessing this on stream. So now let's go to Amelie and Nino, right? So, I mean, I want to go down the dark path here, but what do you think? I'm going to let you start. You're the guest, so I will let you start. At the end of the film, yes, they are together, and it's a lovely scene at the end of the film. They're riding through Paris on a bike, and they're having fun, and they're in that kind of honeymoon young couple stage of like, whoa, having a great time. The 2 loners who have found themselves, the two weirdos, the lovely weirdos who have come together. Now, the credits roll. 20 years later, where are they? What happened?
Well, they definitely both lived in their own worlds before meeting each other. So I do think that there was time that it took for the 2 to come together or to live next to each other copacetically. I'd like to believe that they grew together and that they had children and maybe started some, I don't know, like, I feel like Amelie would have started some kind of volunteer, do-good organization, something where it's like their some outreach organization.
Something charitable, yes.
Yeah, because that really is what got her like feeling empowered was doing good deeds for other people. Nino, you don't know as much about him.
No,
so
he's got several jobs, doesn't he? So we see him with several jobs.
Interesting jobs, you know?
Yeah, because he's like, he works in a ghost house in a sort of fairground kind of place. Like he's like the skeleton guy. And then he also works in like a sex shop. As well as an attendant, you're working at the desk, and also he's got a fascination with people and photographs. So I feel like Amelie might encourage him to actually start taking the photographs. I feel like she might start encouraging him to be creative, so he might teach himself to start taking photographs. I think and he takes very interesting photographs from a kind of like a people watching perspective. He becomes very known for that in Paris, then becomes very known for that in France. However, I think fame and notoriety, because he becomes a very famous photographer in France, changes him. It changes him, Amelia. It changes him. How do we think it might change him? How will this affect their relationship?
Well, I don't know.
See, I want to go dark.
That my instinct too was that maybe because he I don't know, maybe it goes a little bit to his head, and he starts getting very thinking too much about himself, and Amelie doesn't like that because her whole motif is putting other people first and trying to help others. So seeing this change in him is really disheartening and disappointing. And so she probably derives some plan, something to snap him back to reality. Because in the film, she basically gives him this whole wild goose chase to figure out who she is. So I think she does something similar like that to bring him back to what's really important.
Okay, so I'm seeing maybe Fame gets his head. He's never unfaithful or anything like that, because I think he's still quite an introvert. I think he's just he becomes just more about himself. I don't think he would do anything like that. I think they definitely have a child. They have one child. Who they love dearly. I think it might be a little girl.
That was my instinct too.
Absolutely a little girl, absolutely. But then I think that they break up. I think at one point they do break up. Not divorce, but they separate, and it's heartbreaking. But I think Amelie is much steelier and stronger than what a lot of people think she is. I mean, she runs a charity all by herself. She is sorting people's lives out. And so I think you're right. I think at one point she actually, it's maybe through her child who's like, I miss my dad, and maybe it's through her child. She goes, yeah, okay, let's try and see if he can remember why he wants to be here. And she starts to leave clues for him. He's got his own apartment now, like somewhere else in Paris. Leaves clues for him, and it eventually leads him to the point where they first got together or first saw each other, maybe in the underground, and it's Amelie standing there with their little girl.
Yeah, I like that. I like this idea that they've come apart, but then they come back together through this, whole trail of breadcrumbs, a trail of breadcrumbs.
Yes. I was trying not to make it dark. I brought it back.
It went a little dark. You know what? That's life. It gets dark.
I mean, I didn't go down the drugs and alcohol route or anything. I was like, right, how dark can we go here? But no, he doesn't. He maybe turns to drink for a little bit because he's upset, but then he realizes that his life is very hollow, and that's when he starts to get all those little pictures and all those little clues, and he knows who it is, but he follows it anyway. And the test is, do you want to follow the trail? And that's the test. And that's it. And then I think they renew their vows, and Lucien caters for the second wedding. So Lucien is there, and it's amazing. It's in Lucien's restaurant, which is just outside of Paris. Raphael is there with his new wife Moira. Brilliant, lovely Moira.
I love.
And that's it. Like I think we've got happily ever after there. What do you think?
I think so too. Yeah.
Cool. I think we did it. Like, this is the happiest this podcast has ever been.
Really?
Yes.
That happy?
I'm telling you, like, usually we have guests on the show that are like, well, let's do that. We have time travel films or all sorts, so we can really go for it. But I felt with Amelie, there's no way we could go down a really dark route, because it's such a joyous film, so we had to go down there. So that brings us to the end. Amelia, before we go, I just wanted to ask, how are you and Brian doing right now? What have you got on your plates? What are you streaming? Tell us.
We are streaming a lot. We have a really awesome new schedule coming up. We've moved to this new studio. We're setting up a whole bunch of cool things like a disco ball and different cameras everywhere. So this is our big project right now. And on June 19th, Detroit Become Human is going to be re-released on Steam, and something called Community Play, where we get to play with the community, and they will vote on what choices we make by clicking on the screen. So we're excited to do that on June 19th, and then we're going to be starting The Last of Us 2, which I'm excited and also kind of scared about.
Yes, it's going to be very harrowing, I think.
Yeah. And this coming Sunday, we have the voice actress who plays Aerith, Brianna White, from Final Fantasy VII, the remake. She's going to be a guest on our stream. But yeah, we've got a bunch of awesome games to play, and a studio to set up, and that's what we're up to right now.
Please, like my mod in the chat, DW says Claire's going to be jealous. She'll want a disco ball. Yes, I am jealous. I want a disco ball. Why are you getting a disco ball? What is the disco ball for?
So this was actually one of the first gifts that I got for Brian. It's a special disco ball. It has many different lights, different settings, so you can have different colors, you can have multicolors, you can have it go fast, you can have it go slow. So right now it's right above where the camera is, and we're gonna have some awesome parties because we have this entire space now to do with whatever we want.
Oh my
Um,
god, I honestly want the freaking disco ball. Oh, you're giving me ideas. You're definitely giving me
Yeah,
ideas.
well, good because we all need more disco in our life, right?
Oh my god, 100%. 100%. Guys, I've put the links out in the chat. Please go follow Amelia R. Blaire, okay, on
Yes,
Twitter.
and also please, if you haven't already, follow Wee Claire here because she's awesome and streams awesome stuff, and it's just all around good vibes. So
Thank you.
if
Oh, you gave me a fright. Thank you. You gave me a fright there. You're like, I was like, oh my god, what are we doing now? I got such a fright there. Oh my god, what are we doing? Thank you very much for your little shout.
Of course.
Thank you. That's very sweet of you. Thank you to all who have followed during this as well. As you all know, I applied for partner last night. Oh my god, I'm very excited. So fingers crossed. So thank you. I mean, I'm dying to get back to LA, Amelia. And when I do, I owe you and Brian a big dinner. We'll go out for dinner.
I would love that.
We will have dinner. Yes. We'll absolutely have dinner. We'll do like a couple's date thing. It'll be so great. So cute.
Ooh, double date? I love.
I love going out for dinners with couples. It's like my favorite. I'm like an old lady. I don't like parties or anything. I'm just all about like gossiping and talking over dinners. It's like my favorite.
Me too. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
It's a party of small people.
Exactly. A party of small people that I can not control, but I'm not like, I hate giant parties. I hate when there's like 30, 40 people in the room. I'm such an introvert.
That's for sure.
Oh, I can't stand it. Don't like big crowds or anything. It's fun, like weird when I say that because at Comic Con it's all about big crowds, but I feel like it's for work, so it's okay. But anyway, right, enough blethering on. I'm going to love you and leave you here. Amelia, you have been absolutely wonderful, and I do hope you will come back and after summer we'll do like another thing together. Would you be up for that?
Of course. Thank you so much for having me on. This has been a lot of fun. It's a really cool concept, imagined futures, and I really appreciate you reaching out and inviting me to be on your show.
Please go follow Amelia. She is amazing and she's one of my favorite people, a good human, and we need more good humans in the world. So
please go follow Wee Claire if you haven't.
Go follow me. Guys, please say goodbye to the lovely Amelia Rose Blaire. That was Real Imagined Futures. We will see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Real Imagined Futures.